Good evening. Welcome to South Asia Newsline. I'm Lupakshi Khurana. Here are the top stories we're tracking for you on Tuesday, the 5th of March. Two terrorists neutralised in encounter in India's Jammu and Kashmir. India plays down impact of US plan to drop preferential trade treatment. An election rival says Afghan President Ghani hindering peace deal. And now for all the details. Security forces gunned down two terrorists in an encounter in Pulwama district of India's northern Jammu and Kashmir province on Tuesday. A senior Indian Army official said the terrorists belonged to Pakistan-based Hizbul Mujahideen terror group.
Two terrorists were neutralised by security forces in an encounter in Pulwama district of India's northern Jammu and Kashmir province on Tuesday. The encounter broke out after security forces launched cordon and search operations in Tral area of the district on Monday evening to flush out terrorists. As the operation continued on Tuesday morning, the terrorists fired at the security forces, triggering the gunfight. The terrorists belonging to Pakistan-based Hizbul Mujahideen were gunned down after a brief exchange of fire, an official said.
इनके जो रिकवरीज हुई हैं, इन दोनों के पास से दो AK-47 राइफल्स और अदर वॉरलाइक स्टोर्स मिले हैं और इनकी जो अभी तक आइडेंटिफिकेशन हुई है, इसमें एक अफदर फयाज परे और दूसरा जहांगीर वानी के नाम से है और ये दोनों HM से मुकाफलत रखते हैं.
This comes amid tensions between India and Pakistan after a suicide bomb attack claimed by a Pakistan-based terror group killed at least 40 paramilitary personnel in Pulwama last month. New Delhi blames Islamabad for harbouring terror groups and using them as proxy to mount attacks on Indian soil. Pakistan denies the allegations.
Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Tuesday launched a mega national pension scheme for the unorganised sector in a bid to woo a critical voter group ahead of a general election due by May. The pension scheme, targeting at least 100 million workers in the unorganised sector, was announced in the interim budget in February this year.
Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Tuesday launched the mega national pension scheme for the unorganised sector in his home province Gujarat in a bid to woo a critical voter group ahead of a general election due by May. The national pension scheme, targeting at least 100 million workers in the unorganised sector, was announced in the interim budget in February this year. It will provide monthly pension of around $42 to the employees of unorganised sector after 60 years of age.
हम इस योजना से इसलिए जुड़े हैं क्योंकि इसमें 60 साल के बाद हमें 3,000 रुपये मंथली मिलेगा और उस अवस्था में हमारी हालत भी पैसा कमाने की नहीं होती, तो इस स्कीम से हमें बहुत फायदा होगा, इसलिए हम प्रधानमंत्री जी का बहुत धन्यवाद करते हैं.
Unorganised workers, including daily wage labourers, rack pickers, rickshaw drivers and maids, have few social security nets. The scheme will cover workers with monthly income up to $212. The government will deposit an equal share in the workers' pension account every month.
India on Tuesday downplayed the impact of US President Donald Trump's plan to end preferential trade treatment for the South Asian nation that allows duty-free entry for up to $5.6 billion of its exports to the United States. This comes a day after Trump wrote a letter to US congressional leaders informing them about scrapping concessions to India.
India on Tuesday downplayed the impact of US President Donald Trump's plan to end preferential trade treatment for the South Asian nation that allows duty-free entry for up to worth $5.6 billion of its exports to the United States. Trump, who has vowed to cut US trade deficits, has repeatedly called out India for its high tariffs, and US trade officials said scrapping the concessions would take at least 60 days after notifications to US Congress and the Indian government. India's Commerce Secretary on Tuesday said the withdrawal of Generalized System of Preferences or GSP benefits to India will have a minimal and moderate impact.
To put things in very exact perspective, that our total GSP benefits were to the tune of $190 million on a trade of $5.6 billion. So the benefits, both in an absolute sense and as a percentage of the trade involved, are very, very minimal and moderate.
India is the world's largest beneficiary of the GSP program, which dates from the 1970s, and ending its participation would be the strongest punitive action for the South Asian nation since Donald Trump took office in 2017. Trade ties with the United States suffered after India unveiled new rules on e-commerce, limiting the way internet retail giants Amazon.com and Walmart-backed Flipkart do business in the country.
Pakistan's ambassador to US has said his country is ready to give dialogue a chance amid tensions with India. Tensions between the nuclear-armed rivals started since a suicide car bombing last month in India was claimed by a Pakistan-based terror group. This later triggered New Delhi to conduct airstrikes on terror camps inside Pakistan.
Pakistani ambassador to the United States Asad Majid Khan has said his country is ready to give a dialogue a chance to de-escalate recent tensions with India. Khan on Monday told an audience at the United States Institute of Peace that Pakistan's Prime Minister Imran Khan has also stressed the importance of dialogue and engagement. The United States is trying to prevent simmering tensions between India and Pakistan from impacting a third country, Afghanistan, where a fragile peace push is underway to try to end more than 17 years of war with Taliban.
Prime Minister Khan once again stressed the importance of dialogue and engagement, pointing out that all wars start from miscalculation, and once they start, they are not in anyone's control.
US President Donald Trump's administration has been publicly focused on lowering tensions between the nuclear-armed rivals since a suicide car bombing in India's Jammu and Kashmir triggered Indian airstrikes on terror camps inside Pakistan. Pakistan has denied any role in the suicide bombing, but the Pakistan-based Jaish-e-Mohammed terror group claimed responsibility for it, and India has long accused Islamabad of supporting them.
In news from Afghanistan, Afghanistan's defense minister has pointed on Pakistan indirectly for last week's terror attack which targeted a military base in Helmand province. The minister said the attack was plotted across the Durand line and was carried out by suicide bombers belonging to the Taliban and the Pakistan-based Jaish-e-Mohammed terror group.
Afghanistan's acting defense minister Asadullah Khalid has said the Taliban's attack on military base in southern Helmand province was plotted on the other side of the Durand line, indirectly referring to Pakistan. Khalid said the attack was carried out by 12 suicide bombers of the Taliban and Pakistan-based Jaish-e-Mohammed terror group. He made the remarks at a meeting on Monday attended by the head of the National Directorate of Security, acting interior minister and senior military officials from the Resolute Support Mission. Commander of US and NATO forces in Afghanistan, General Scott Miller, also joined the meeting through video conference.
غفلتان به حسابش میرسیم و انتقام قطره قطره خون شهیدای خود که تعدادشان به 26 نفر میرسید انشالله که اردوی ملیشان خواهد گرفت.
بحث‌های ژرف درباره برنامه‌ریزی داشتیم. از این رو ما با مقام‌های بلندپایه حکومت افغانستان دیدار کردیم تا اطمینان به دست آید که با هم متحد و هماهنگ هستیم.
The attack on the Shorab air base by Afghan forces in Helmand started last Friday and continued for 16 hours. The attack left at least 50 dead, including security force members and the militants.
More news from Afghanistan. Mohammad Hanif Atmar, an influential former advisor to Afghan President Ashraf Ghani, now a leading electoral rival, has accused his old boss of hampering peace with the Taliban by blocking efforts to include a broad range of voices in the process.
Mohammad Hanif Atmar, Afghanistan's former national security advisor, has accused President Ashraf Ghani of hampering peace with the Taliban by blocking efforts to include a broad range of voices in the process. With Afghan politics in deep confusion as talks between the US and Taliban representatives proceed, Atmar, who is now a leading electoral rival of Ghani, has accused him of exploiting the uncertainty to gain re-election. The comments reflect the extent to which the peace process has become tied into upcoming presidential elections.
The president of Afghanistan is certainly making things more difficult at the moment by unreasonably opposing the intra-Afghan talks, and B, taking measures that are extremely unfavorable to the process. First, he's criticizing everybody who's participated. Second, he's sending letters to the UN to bar the Taliban from travel.
President Ashraf Ghani has so far been sidelined from any direct role in the process due to the Taliban's refusal to talk to what it considers a US-appointed puppet government. Ghani was reportedly furious when a group of leading politicians outside the government, including both Atmar and former President Hamid Karzai, met Taliban officials in Moscow last month. If he won the election, Atmar said his priorities would be national unity, peace, justice and cooperation domestically and beyond.
Indian Air Force pilot, Wing Commander Abhinandan Varthaman, who was freed by Pakistan last week, has not only inspired the Indian youth by his courage, but also with his unique style of moustache. Men in India's southern Bengaluru city flocked to saloons on Monday to get their moustache trimmed in a style inspired by him.
Men in India's southern Bengaluru city flocked to barber salons on Monday to get their moustache trimmed in a style inspired by Indian Air Force pilot Wing Commander Abhinandan Varthaman, who was freed by Pakistan last week. The Indian pilot's ordeal made him a focal point of the crisis for Indians after footage of his battered face was shown on Pakistani television and social media shortly after he was captured. Scores of youth in India have not only been inspired by his courage but also his unique style of moustache. The fighter pilot has become a hero figure back home.
फेस कटिंग मुझे मैच कर रहा था, इसलिए मैंने लुक चेंज किया उनके ऊपर। अच्छा लगता है उनको? हाँ, मुझे अच्छे लगते हैं। क्यों? बस ऐसे ही। क्यों उनको आप हीरो मानते हो? हाँ, मैं हीरो मानता हूँ उन्हें। We respect to Wing Commander Abhinandan. So that's why we are doing all these things, because we can't go in that place. So our original hero is gone there. He came back from Pakistan. So that's why we thought to do all these things.
Pakistan handed back captured pilot on March 1st as the nuclear-armed neighbors scaled back their confrontation that has prompted world powers to urge restraint. Abhinandan's MiG-21 jet was shot down by a Pakistani fighter during an aerial clash over the Kashmir region on February 27th, as 2 weeks of growing tensions between the two countries erupted into open hostilities.
Well, that's the way towards South Asia this evening. Before we conclude, the top stories once again. Two terrorists neutralised in encounter in India's Jammu and Kashmir. India plays down impact of US plan to drop preferential trade treatment. An election rival says Afghan President Ghani hindering peace deal. Now our viewers can watch the show on SouthAsiaNewsline.com. You can also visit us on Facebook.com/SAsia Newsline and follow us on Twitter @SAsia Newsline. That's all in tonight's edition. We'll see you same time tomorrow. Good night.